Hello, everyone. Well, there's a chance of showers and storms in Iowa today and tonight, but the chance of severe storms is tomorrow afternoon and evening. Before we talk about that, though, let's get through today. Starting at 8 a.m. this morning, do have to mention the chance for isolated snow showers if you're in Mason City, Waterloo, Dubuque, and on up to the north and east. I think this is the only area where there's a possibility of encountering some light snow. And again, not a guarantee you're going to see light snow, but it is a possibility. But certainly, if you do encounter snow, it's not going to be anything that's going to slow you down. Now, I think the better chance of precipitation is going to be in the late morning and early afternoon. Notice the chance of snow going away. These are going to be rain showers. And I do think the best chance really going to be in the northern half of the state. Going to be difficult to see any showers in the southern half of the state. And the reason why the rain chance going up late morning, early afternoon, a warm front lifting over us. So this is 11 a.m., 2 o'clock. So we'll talk about scattered showers. Notice mainly in the northern half of the state. And then by 5 o'clock, it looks like we're just going to transition back to isolated showers in the northern half of the state and probably completely dry in the southern half of the state. And look at the difference in temperatures from south to north. So for the southern half of the state, we're talking about high temperatures, low to mid 60s today. But in the northern half of the state, low 50s, low 40s for highs, where the warm front just lifting through, so not able to warm up as much. Going to be breezy this afternoon no matter where you are in the state. Gusts 25 to 30 miles per hour, more around 25 in the western half of the state and 30 in the eastern half of the state. And I do think these winds are probably going to peak late afternoon and they're going to start coming down again after sunset. Speaking of which, let's take a look at 8 o'clock and notice finally some more green showing up in the southern half of the state, but in general at 8 o'clock still looks like isolated activity. However, I do think there's going to be an increase in activity as we go through the evening hours and a relative peak in the activity about 2 a.m. tonight. I got to call it scattered showers, and notice little dots of orange showing up. Yes, some thunderstorms. No severe storms. It's a little wave of low pressure in between the warm front and cold front. It's going to enhance activity. There's going to be quite a bit of rain around. There's going to be thunderstorms in spots, but no severe storms. But I do want to mention this around 2 a.m. because it is possible you might get an early wake-up call with some thunderstorms around. But look how the activity starts to decrease again once we get to the morning commute tomorrow. Here we are at 7 a.m. and like kind of transitioning back to just isolated showers, a chance of storms temporarily going away, and not going to be too much wind around, a little bit more in the eastern part of the state and the western part of the state, but average gusts around 15 miles per hour. So when does the severe threat begin tomorrow? I think at the earliest, we're talking about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so no worries during the morning hours, but as early as about 2 o'clock, you see those dots of yellow around Osceola and closer to the Omaha area. I think in the southwestern part of the state is where we're going to start to see the thunderstorms pop up first tomorrow, somewhere around 2 o'clock. This as a cold front moves in. So now let's jump ahead to 4 o'clock and notice more storms showing up. Jump ahead to 6 o'clock, even more storms. So what it looks like is we're going to see a line of storms develop. Initially, some just isolated storms, but they're all going to form into a line, and these storms are going to be strengthening as well. And unfortunately, it's looking like this line is going to peak in intensity somewhere around the Quad Cities. This is 6 o'clock, but I bet the storm intensity is going to peak somewhere around 7, 8 o'clock. Unfortunately, right as this line is moving over the Quad Cities, but certainly want to mention for the central part of the state as well, as the storms are strengthening, the possibility of severe storms, but I think the greatest threat in the most eastern part of the state. That said, after this line of storms moves over us with the cold front, then that's going to be it. The severe threat coming to an end by 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. And just as the storms move out, the widespread windy conditions and snow moves in. So by 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, though during the day just breezy unless you get one of those severe storms, now we're talking widespread across the state, gusts 30, 35 miles per hour. Notice how those temperatures have come down as well with the cold front now clear of us. So now let's keep an eye on the snow, mainly in the northwestern part of the state at 9 o'clock. Let's jump ahead to 3 a.m., very late Friday night, early Saturday morning, and I do think there could be a brief period in the most northern part of the state where some heavy snow is coming down. I think it's going to be limited to just the most northern part of the state, but brief window with some heavy snow. And here we are, 7 a.m. Saturday morning. I noticed scattered snow showers even around the Quad Cities, but the activity wrapping up in the western part of the state. And I do think this scattered snow shower activity that you're seeing here at 7 a.m. is all going to come to an end during the morning hours. By noon, all of the snow, all precipitation out of here. The other thing I have to mention, though, is it is probably the early morning hours on Saturday where it is going to be very windy across the state. We're talking about wind gusts 45 to as much as 50 miles per hour, especially it looks like a window of about 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's when winds are going to be the strongest. Then after 10 a.m. Saturday morning, just as the precipitation's coming in, the wind's gradually coming down. But very early Saturday morning, very windy conditions across Iowa, and notice some cold temperatures as well. So, severe threat. Notice for the most western part of the state, it is not there. But for central and eastern Iowa, we're looking at a window from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 9 o'clock in the evening. Storm starting to the west and spreading to the east. And notice the threat increases as you go to the east. So let's talk about the worst case scenario. It is certainly a possibility in that line of storms that we could see wind gusts in a few spots as high as 80 miles per hour. In a few spots, we could see golf ball size hail. I do have to mention that we're probably going to see some isolated EF0, EF1 tornadoes as well, probably embedded within that line. There probably are going to be some isolated tornadoes that occur. And because we're going to have all the rain around tonight and then more heavy rain coming in tomorrow, there could be some isolated flooded roads as well. Now, technically, all those hazards are possible anywhere shaded on this map, central and eastern wire, but I'm most concerned about the areas shaded red and around the Quad Cities in particular. That's where those threats are the highest. That's where the best chance is. It's looking, unfortunately, increasingly likely that we are going to get severe storms in the Quad Cities, but I do have to mention a chance for all of central and eastern Iowa, except for the most western part of the state. Again, looking at that window, 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow until 9 o'clock in the evening. Finally, before we wrap up, I know you're probably curious about how much snow. Well, for most, we're definitely way more concerned about the severe storm threat, because for a lot in the state, we're talking about less than an inch. If you want to get technical, it's probably going to be like a dusting 10th inch, Osceola, Burlington. Quad Cities, probably looking at a quarter to a half an inch. Now, you get around Fort Dodge, Waterloo, Dubuque, more likely to be closer to an inch. But if you want totals that are going to be above an inch, you really have to go to the most northern part of the state. Sioux City, looking like 1 to 2 inches, and the sweet spot may end up being around the Mason City area, 2 to 3 inches of snow expected there.